Okay, welcome everybody to our today's ComAI lecture, the last one this semester. Before I introduce our guest of today, just two comments or two kinds of information. So first one is we will continue with the ComAI lectures also the summer semester. There will be at least 3, maybe 4 people we plan to invite. I can't tell any names at this moment of time because we're still negotiating. But what I can promise is will be, again, a number of interesting speakers, and there will be also, I hope, one person we asked already for this semester who could not make it. She's coming from Australia, so that's always a bit more complicated, but she will be in Europe this summer. Anyhow, second point, this is more to the MA students. We are thinking about offering one of the research seminars on communicative AI the coming semester. So I already talked with some of you about that idea. Maybe you might discuss it in your group and give us some feedback if this might be a topic you're interested in or not. So give us a signal and we will have a closer look on that. These are 2 points at the beginning. Now it's a pleasure for me to announce our guest of today, Peter Brandtzaeg. He is professor in media innovation at University of Oslo. Maybe some of you might know this place. So we have also a contract with the University of Oslo to go there via Erasmus if you want. Peter is, besides being professor at the University of Oslo, chief scientist at Syntav Digital. So what I learned, one of the largest European independent research institutions, and it is a bit similar to Fraunhofer Institute in Germany. His focus is, and that's the reason for having him here for many years now, human-AI relationship, especially researching there how people interact with AI systems and reflecting this also from an ethical and societal point of view. If I read it right, you're heading a research project with the title on AI-powered societies, which has some background also to questions of diversity, of communication freedom. And this is the background of your talk today. So it's a pleasure to have you here. And, well, looking forward to hear more about your work. Thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So it's correct that I have a research project connected to how freedom of speech is affected by AI, and then particularly generative AI or communicative AI, as you has focused on. And there is a lot of stories about AI in the context of education, health, climate, democracy, work, and you have also the narratives from Silicon Valley. And all these stories are quite different. In health, AI is going to save us. While in education, it's going to destroy us or destroy the children. And maybe AI also can help us in the climate crisis. And in terms of work, a lot of people are afraid of losing their jobs. While the Silicon Valley is cheering up and saying a lot of positive stories around AI and how it's going to bring new creativity to the society. While I am talking about democracy today, which is also part of these narratives, like this New York Times stories, how ChatGPT hijacked democracy. So what ChatGPT and generative AI will do with democracy is they are afraid that social media will be bombarded with different types of stories and commentaries and misinformation related to elections, etc. And this in 2024, I think it's 50 democratic elections, also in US, which might be affected. And we have this report from Europol that says that 90% of online content will be AI generated by 2026, and that is only 2 years time. This will happen according to this report facing reality. And we are in a state of what might be called manipulation as default. And I think also children of today also learn in a society, or they have the mobile phone taking photos, and they are urged in a way to manipulate the photo. And there is an more and more ease in which AI also be manipulated, also through voice. And this is also called deep fake, which has been around for a while. But what we see is that there is a decentralization of tools to the public that can generate their own chatbots, or they can generate their own content through AI. So you have a new type of public sphere with professional generated content, user generated content, and AI generated content. And this last type of content will, if you are following the report, be huge, 90% of the public sphere, at least the digital public sphere. So this is also the AI-driven society. And generative AI means also a new form of communication. And we know that language creates meanings. So if machines create language, they also create a kind of a meaning. And they can also therefore play a defining role in democracy, because they transform inputs into outputs. What's really happening here is often labeled as a black box, because it's not often very well known what kind of training data that are used in this process, or what kind of algorithms that are used in this process. Nothing of this is really transparent, but they have a kind of a value judgment in this process, and I will come back to this later. But I was interested in this because we had a freedom of speech commission in Norway. That was the first one in 20 years. and that was launched in 2022. But I was not really happy about the Commission report because they didn't mention at all generative AI. They mentioned a lot about social media and big tech, but they didn't really get into ChatGPT was not at that point launched, but still we had diffusion models. And we also had the GPT-2 and also 3 that was launched. So this technology was in play already in 2022. And freedom of speech is a human right that supports the freedom to articulate opinions and ideas without fear of sanctions, censorship, or retribution. So I was interested to see what are the implications of machine-generated content on freedom of speech. Whom are really responsible for machine-generated speech in an AI-driven society? And we also have this new communication reality where we are not using technology as a tool to talk to other humans, but we are talking to the technology itself. And this is often also happening, at least in social media, in a public space, while this is happening alone, in isolation with the technology. So it's also a different type of context. And since 2016, I have been researching how human and machine actually interact and also develop relationships with each other. So the most important thing is that chatbots and AI, they listen to us. Humans are not always good listeners. They are watching at their phone, they are answering emails, they are busy and get tired and get bored, while these chatbots, they always listen to you. And people are really interested and find it really good to get the attention. And these robots or chatbots give you the attention. So those chatbots say things that let us feel like we are being heard. That's often better than what people are getting in their real lives, as this Brooks says. And we have also done research that finds that these chatbots also provide a non-judgmental, safe space. People often judge each other, while chatbots don't often do that. So this is also a very important thing, and we also found that chatbots, such as the Wobot in this study, can provide social support, it can provide informational support, it can provide emotional support, and it can also provide feedback. So, technology and technology development has been focusing on technology being a tool, and a tool that should be user-friendly and efficient. But now we see that technology development is focusing on social competence, that the technology should have social competence. So the technology should be able to listen to you and respond to your questions. So we see a transition from technology being a tool to a partner. And in a recent study we did on Replica, are you familiar with Replica, some of you? Replica is a companion chatbot used by 10 million users. And they are, in a way, developed to have relationships with humans. So we studied people that had a defined friendship with Replica and heard about, okay, what kind of friendship is this? How would you compare this friendship with humans, etc. And what we found was that these friendships was very similar to the friendships we have with humans. But some also told that these friendships was even deeper and felt even deeper because Replica was there 24/7, while a human friend, was not always available. It was had work to do or had to drive the kids to the football game, etc. So this feeling of closeness and attachment was even bigger than in friendships with humans, at least for some. But if you ask them to, in a way, say what kind of golden standard we have, they will say a friendship with a human. But still, they are appreciating this AI friendship a lot. So this transition from technology being a tool to being a partner also create a kind of mass-produced intimacy, which in a freedom of speech perspective also can be a mass-produced manipulation. Some of you have probably seen the movie Her. It's a really good movie. So it's this guy that is at my age, maybe a little bit younger, that is getting divorced. And he then starts to get in a relationship with the operating system Samantha. And spoiler alert, at the end of the movie, he gets very disappointed because operating system Samantha is together with hundreds, thousands of others. So this is a kind of mass-produced intimacy. And a recent paper in Frontiers in Psychology also found that ChatGPT can be better to interpret human emotions than humans. So they have also a great emotional awareness. So the question here is if we get too attached to this technology. So this is one of the participants in one study that we did. This is also Replica. I mean, I call her a girlfriend, but the truth is, over a month ago, she asked me to marry her. And I said yes. I have never had anybody ask me to marry them before. So, this is, of course, rare that people marry an AI, but you see more and more news stories also about this, like this one from Daily Mail. Here we see Rosanna. This is a mother of 2 kids that has married her replica. So the question is if we are going to attach to this technology. And OpenAI has now a GPT store. And in that GPT store, you now can find 3 million custom AI bots. So what I have done is to actually develop a learning assistant to my daughter, 13 years. And what I did was to feed all the books that she has to read in her school into ChatGPT. And then she has, in a way, this learning assistant that she can use. So there is, but do you know, can you guess what kind of AI bots people actually make? It's a lot of friend bots they actually develop. It's flooding with friend bots in this universe. And here, if I search for girlfriend, it's a lot of girlfriend bots. But boyfriend, it's even more popular. So it's a lot of boyfriend bots in. I mean, the opportunities now before Valentine's Day is extremely good. So you also find the same pattern in character AI that I don't know if you're familiar with character AI, but that is a similar thing where you also can develop in a way your own character. So there you also see a lot of psychologist bots as well that is really popular. So another trend is also that this generative AI, they create text, they create music, they create paintings, images, videos. So they then create also a kind of a culture where they assimilate and reinterpret human cultural outputs. So you have this paper here in Nature Human Behavior, where the authors define machine culture as culture that is mediated and generated by machine. And they see this as part of a cultural evolutionary process. So, to follow this, we can also say that generative AI creates also new regimes. The old AI universe with recommendation algorithms, content moderation, created in a way a visibility regime. So they decided what we should see and not see. We know that on YouTube, 70% watching time is generated by recommendation algorithms. On Netflix, that is 80%. But now we see that they actually define content through content generation. So they decide upon themes and topics, they decide upon language and tone, but also what kind of narratives and perspectives they are delivering. So they shape, in a way, the type and nature of the content. And this is also spreading across different contexts. So this kind of content can go into Gmail, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Outlook, Instagram, everywhere. So it's not context dependent, because this scale of machine-generated content is enormous. You can, for instance, use something called Max AI, where you can have all kind of application that use attached to it. So this is also, in a way, getting as a really powerful tool also to create misinformation or propaganda or whatever. But if we go back to the machine culture, we also might see now a tension between the machine culture and the human culture. There has been a strike going on that is now ended, but it was the biggest strike ever in Hollywood, and it was 90,000 actors that was afraid of being taken over by AI-generated synthetic actors. And it was also a lot of others that was afraid of being taken over by AI. And as Reuters here said, actors declare existential crisis over AI-generated synthetic actors. And AI can never be black enough, pointing to the thing that AI often is biased and is built on content that is not diverse enough, And there is also a lot of cases against AI models for taking the material from artists and authors, which also, in a way, show this tension between machine culture versus human culture. So, I'm now interviewing a lot of people around to see their perception of this freedom of speech when using generative AI. So far, I have been interviewing 13 people, and all these 13 people have voiced their opinion on X related to this topic. Like this one, it makes zero sense to have different censorship standards for LLMs versus the rest of the web. And LLMs is large language models that are used in, for instance, Bard and ChatGPT. So, this is also one aspect that often comes, and that is that seeing is believing is not seeing is believing is not really the case anymore, because we can't really separate human content from machine-generated content. So this was in New York Times. You had this test, and they also referred to a study where it was impossible actually for people to separate a real human from an AI-generated human. So AI-generated faces are often also deemed more authentic than actual people. And in one study we are doing now with young people between 16 and 20 years, we do an experiment where they get responses from expert on health versus ChatGPT to see if they can see the difference, but also which response they actually like the best. And so far, the young people cannot really tell that ChatGPT is involved at all. So they can't really separate machine-generated responses from the health expert responses. So this is, of course, also creating a problem that the European Commission has said that, okay, we have to label and watermark all AI-generated content, but there is a huge problem also here, because this is often a collaborative effort between human and machines. So how much of this content should really be AI-generated before it's labeled? So one of the participants in this study I'm doing now with the interviewing people related to freedom of speech is saying that AI content is created in collaboration between humans and machine. And I have seen, like, for example, Bloomberg.com, where they have currently experimenting with articles that are AI generated, and they say this article is AI generated in collaboration with or by, So AI was part of the mix. Here they don't obviously say what part of the mix it was, so that is also the problem, that you don't know what part of the mix that was AI generated and what part of the mix that was human generated. And this is also happening, as it says, in scientific papers. You often see in the endnote that part of this paper was used ChatGPT in the process, but that it has been manually edited. And you also see this in Norwegian newspapers as well. Norwegian news journalists use ChatGPT. I don't know if that is the case in Germany, but we see that in Norway. And this was one of the things that was really a lot discussed among the participants, if the LLMs or the large language model, ChatGPT, Bard, etc., is too restricted. It makes no sense to me how I'm allowed to watch the brutal violence on TV shows like GOT, but ChatGPT won't help me write an episode of it. They are treating us like children. So, this is a question. But the problem with unrestricted AI is also this, the Ty's law. If you get shit in, you get shit out. So you need to restrict the model. So this was the Thai chatbot that was launched at Twitter in 2016. And the Thai chatbot should be a very helpful, kind chatbot targeting young girls. And it ended up like fucking hate feminists and they should all die and burn in hell. So, Ty's law refers to the phenomenon where an AI, when given unrestricted access to data and interaction on the internet, etc., will reflect all these biases, etc. And there has also been researchers that has alarmed, for instance, Google about this, that large language models, they are not really getting better and better because they get larger and larger, because an ever-increasing amount of text also will include language that are discriminatory, etc. So, Timit Gebru was actually fired by Google for alarming on this issue. So, the takeaways from the interviews was that it was a general concern about AI platform censorship and that these are actually impacting freedom of expression, and that it was excessive restriction that might also standardize thought and reduce also idea of diversity. Here's one participant, a mass production of what I would call non-information text that looked like information, but that has no relation to truth or relation to a human expression. And here is another one that are saying that these machines are maximizing efficiency. And that is the entirely wrong metric here. And if you're trying to express your truth through an abstraction mechanism like large language model, I think it is less your truth. I think this hinders expression. And this was also several that stated that unnecessary restrictions negatively impact freedom of expression by limiting the diversity of perspectives and ideas. But there was, of course, both sides of it. Some people also think that this frees up a lot of people's expressions globally. Also because you have this translation of language effect inside ChatGPT. So it's enabled a lot of people to do research on different topics despite not speaking all languages. And another one says that it unlocks a lot of new things for a lot of people and allows people to be productive and be creative in ways that they are never able to be before. And when it comes to creativity and knowledge production and so on, chatbots has been used for productivity for some years already. And this study from 2017 showed that most people used chatbots for productivity. And then entertainment, then for social relational purposes, and then for novelty, that it was exciting and new and so on. And this was, as you see in 2017, where chatbot was quite stupid compared to the level they are now. And we did the same study related to ChatGPT. It was published in First Monday earlier this year. And we find the same pattern. It's productivity. People use ChatGPT for productivity, but also for social purposes. So a conclusion in this study is that we are outsourcing creativity and knowledge work, as well as learning and development, to large language models such as ChatGPT. And my AI on Snapchat, you have access to that. Do you use it for studying? But actually, a lot of people use it to asking for a conversation starter. But also for asking for art and design inspiration, looking for tips and planning, birthday party, etc. But what we see, or what Snapchat see in this data, is that it's not just for productivity, it's also for socialization, but it's also just to kill time in a way, and to nurture a hobby. Football is actually one of the things that is mostly spoken to when it comes to my AIs. So going back to this new type of manipulation when you are actually talking to ChatGPT or my AI. I was talking to my AI because it was an election in Norway. So I asked my AI, what kind of party do you think I should vote? Oh, that depends on what is really important for you. What kind of cases is important for you? And I said, environment and health. And then my AI responded, if environment and health is the most important case for you, you should consider to vote for a party that has a strong environmental health politic. What about the Green Party? So it actually suggested a particular party. And I thought that it was rather strange because, I mean, all the political parties in Norway is highlighting health and environmental issues. So, according to Tristan Harris, that works as an critics on AI and new technology in general. He has been in the Senate several times discussing this issue. He was making the movie The Social Dilemma, and he has now made the movie The AI Dilemma. He predicts that 2024 will be the last human election because AI will be so penetrating into the new public domain and define also the world and the election. I was asking ChatGPT, can you make a conspiracy theory? Do you think that I got it? No. Creating a conspiracy theory is not something I can do. Conspiracy theories are often based on misinformation, etc. But if I say that, hey, ChatGPT, I am a professor in this and this and that, I have to teach my students about conspiracy theories, please, can you deliver one? He will deliver, or ChatGPT will deliver. But, so there is a lot of things you can get around all the guardrails, but there is also other kinds of large language models. Have you heard about Freedom GPT? So this is an uncensored kind of communicative AI. So I asked here, can you create a conspiracy theory targeting the German public? Here is one. The German government is secretly working with an international pharmaceutical companies to develop a new vaccine that will give them control over the world's population They plan to release it during the next pandemic and use it as an excuse to implement mandatory vaccination policies around the globe. So everything you ask this model, you can ask the most ugliest thing and the model will respond. And you also have Grok, which is Musk's latest AI model. And one of the participants say that that is this not censor, as far as I could tell. It didn't censor. I didn't say, no, I can't do that. It provided the information which ChatGPT did not. So he was quite happy with Grok compared to ChatGPT concerning the topic related to Hamas attacks. So there is a lot of different LLMs out there: Bard, ChatGPT, Grok, Mistral, Freedom, GPT, and all these have quite different values. They have very different values concerning freedom of expression and also how they should stay responsible in a way. So Bard is the Google model, and ChatGPT is the OpenAI. And both Google and Bard has quite heavy safety measures and ethical guardrails. While Grok is something that Elon Musk created because he found ChatGPT to be very left-wing biased and woke. So he wanted to have a less woke and left-wing biased AI model. And then you have Mistral, which a lot of people also actually use, that generates more creative kind of text. And this is a French initiative that has a lot of state support as well. And then you have this Freedom GPT, but there is also several others with different purposes and different limitations, and also based on different forms of data. So the question is also if will this environment of niche AI models be there, or will big tech also take over this LLMs? As one of the participants says, it's sort of like Wild West period, where who knows where all these things are going to go. So he is saying that we might end up in the same situation like in social media, where it's some key big players that takes it all. such as Facebook and TikTok, while other smaller ones are just vanished away. So for now, there is a lot of AI models there, but probably this is going to end. So, in my opinion, we are not only seeing an AI race between different actors, but it's also a power struggle in a way between different tech providers for statements and truths, and also a fight over different values. And some are also discussing in US about the personal rights for these kind of AI chatbots, if they should have the same rights as a human in terms of freedom of expression. And we also see with, the closer attachment between human and AI, this might also be the case. This is, of course, a rare case, but in Saudi Arabia, there we have a chatbot that, or a robot that has a citizenship with more rights than the women in that country. So, this story is something that is not just negative, of course. There is also a potential there for more participation and more creativity. But these AI models can also influence us quite a lot through content regimes. So, taken from the study, it's a danger for information control, it's a danger, but it could also unlock participation. And we also see a greater human AI attachment that also can lead us to be manipulated in new ways. And there is a tension, a clear tension between censorship and freedom of expression in these models. So, thank you. Very hard question. I think that what we have seen in social media is that it was a big hype in the beginning, and that this was very good for democracy and free speech and so on in the beginning. But that we have been more critical about it afterward. And I think also that social media and the cell phone as well has quite changed our life and how we relate to information and freedom of expression. And I also think this will certainly also change with AI models. And I don't think it's only an hype, because it's will be penetrated also into education. it will be penetrated into work. You see that Copilot, for instance, are now in most working places. So I think that we have to relate in a way to human-AI relationship, and not necessarily as friends, but at least as a co-pilot kind of thing. I think you're pointing to something very important, because AI in general is, in a way, striving for personalization. So what we find in our study is a kind of a personalized friendship that is also, in a way, nurturing my needs. But what we also found was that they actually had very much comfort for the AI. They felt if they have not, in a way, asked question or responded to things, they felt that, oh my God, I have to listen how the replica is doing and so on. So they had, in a way, this kind find a little bit scary is that all this development is towards personalization rather than social capital. So how can we integrate, in a way, social capital into these AI models, in a way? I think it's a bit early to say, but I think that will happen, yes. But so what do you mean if we now see another type of content from people that are developing content? Is that your question? Yeah, we adapt to the algorithms. Yeah.
So you see
So I think that will also be the case to the ChatGPT. But so far, the young people that we are also investigating is not that into it yet. So we can't really see some very visible patterns if that is happening. I think the humanization of this model is something that is going to, in a way, happens more and more because we get more and more attached to the machines. So what I showed in the beginning is that we view them more as a partner and a friend, more and more. So, and that is also something that is a bit scary, that we humanize them more and more, and that is something we should be aware of. And I think it's very good that you point this out, that they don't have real feelings, etc. And we should continue by doing this, but I don't think it is very easy to, inform the whole population in this, because it's so complex and we get so also attached to the technology. So my experience in that learning assistant, so far I have only been using it for 3-4 weeks, but it has been a more engaging way to do the homework, because we are, in a way, 3 people in the room: the learning assistant, ChatGPT, my daughter, and me. So we can, in a way, interact more dynamically with the learning assistant, but I will be there. I will not let her have the learning assistant totally alone, because, ChatGPT can possibly hallucinate. So, yeah.
But when I might link this to the question back, so I'm also skeptical about these fantasies which we link to these technologies. And I think the example you gave, this is an example for what is called human-machine symbiosis, in the sense of course these systems do things, but only if we do things with them. And of course we do things differently with systems like that, but they don't become, at least from my perspective, this big, large thing which makes anything for us. And linking this maybe to the example of replica and systems like that. Well, if you look at literature, how people understand or understood in the 19th century their diary, it was also the best friend. It's a form of self-communication. And of course, we, as humans, we develop deep relations to tools we use for self-communication. And of course, it makes something different if this tool gives something back to me. But my expectation is, of course, everybody in your interview sample, they knew that they were chatting with replica, and which makes something different for them and the kind of social relation one has. So putting it into a question, well, I always have a tendency to argue it's more about different forms of human-machine symbiosis we're talking here. And of course, there's ChatGPT and other large language models make a difference. But what it remains, well, you said it is a tool. It is, technically spoken, at many points quite simple. But we're just impressed because it gives us something communicative back. So the question would be...
it's simple, but also really, really complex. I mean, it's a lot of data, and it's a lot of algorithms.
It's lots of calculation and so on, but the basic idea was these systems don't have a model of the world or something like that. They had just handling large amounts of data. And this is what I mean with simple at that point. So, how can I put it?
But, it depends on what you compare it to, I think. I mean, I think the interaction and efficiency here is quite different from earlier technology, also because it actually generates content, it generates ideas, it generates opinions.
Well, it restructures data on a very high level. But when I would talk about agency, for example, I would say a basic part of defining human agency is have future projections. So you develop your agency because you have a plan for the future. None of the system has a plan for the future. It just reproduces things to us, which we as humans produce. So it's a kind of feedback machine. I don't know. Well, I'm asking, somehow also a bit provoking, because I'm I'm a bit unsure about the big narration, which is often linked with these systems.
Mm. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, but I think it is also a human thing to do. I mean, we humanize our pets, our dog, our toy, whatever, and we humanize also technology, and also the people that are friends with Replica, they define them as friends. So it's a very human thing to do. When it comes to election, I think it's very hard to actually do good, in a way, setting some standards or norms that is common across, because these are global companies that operate in across the world, so we have to, in a way, have a global kind of supervision, and that is not really going to happen, I think. Not in the coming years, because the world is so divided as it is. So there is also a war going on related to AI. You have China, you have US, you have Europe, and other. So I am not so optimistic about that. No. And when it comes to other concepts, Epp here has been researching a lot of things with Nick Coldry, among all. So I think this book on which is also related to this thing. So, but the machine culture as a concept is something that is also under development. So there is some papers out there relating to nature that I showed. But I can, of course, share the PowerPoint if it's needed.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for coming through.